I'll be honest, I didn't expect to make it in either. I woke up and looked at the clock and I was like, oh shit, here we go again. So as you might notice, there is a drink that was being passed around. The winner is going to come over here and suck it out of the cloth. Huh? So there's actually a rule. If you don't do this shot, you have to leave because you're not worthy of being in this room with the champions who do it. So I'm going to do this. Well, I'll wait for everybody. We'll give it a second. This is me giving you permission to day drink. Right on. Oh, that's coming. Yeah, that's coming about halfway through. Help people get pepped up. What you guys don't know is I've already pounded half a bottle, so.
Do you need water or anything? Let me pour you up one of these.
No, I'm good.
Around me.
Going double? Nice. We're going to cross this bridge, man. Yeah. We're good? All right. So we're going to do this. And again, if you don't, that's fine. You can just leave. That's all right. To quote the great poem, I am the master of the fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I'm going to take a shot of Jack Daniels at 11 o'clock in the morning. There we go. Ah.
You're good.
Ah.
It's all good.
Fucking microphones. There we go. So, it's on. All right. So this is my speaking debut. I have not prepared anything. I have no slides. So it's a great contrast to Jake, who was just up here and is the most well-dressed and most organized writer. And now here I am, and I have not changed my socks for 4 days. And I've been hungover for 2 months. So we're setting a record here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background. We'll go from there, and then I'll tell you some bullshit about writing copy, because everyone thinks it's magical. I'll save you all time. If you read 3 specific books, this whole presentation's irrelevant. But if you want to hang out and pretend, that's cool too. So I started copy when I was about 16. I got into it because my daughter was born 4 days before I turned 16. And suddenly I was like, oh shit, I'm one of those guys. I'm having a kid as a kid, all the fun stuff. So I had to figure out something, because I didn't just want to be a broke dude, no money, with a kid, stereotypical, in a trailer, with a wife beater, beating wives, the whole nine. So, I decided to learn how to write copy because I came across it. I taught myself how to do that by reading Eugene Schwartz, Robert Collier, Claude Hopkins, all the classics, these dudes who are like dead. They've just been dead forever. So I did that, and it was a good time. When I was about 18, the day before my 18th birthday, my ex, the mother of 2 of my children, said, "This is bullshit. You'll never make it doing this," and then kicked me out of the house. So I lived in the back of a Ford Focus for a while for copy. So this is what my commitment to this whole art, She was wrong, and what does work for her now are the child support checks. Those clear without fail every month. And she's also, as you can imagine, super stoked now that it worked. So I went from there, learned how to write copy, all that fun shit, and at one point donated plasma to pay for Clayton Makepeace's copy course because it was about $120 a lesson or a month or whatever. So I was donating plasma just so I could learn how to write copy better because I was like, oh, this old dude who's not dead, which that's the first sign you shouldn't listen to somebody, is saying that he's gonna make me a ton of money as a copywriter. So I got into all that, and then he shut the business down and all that. Fun, try to think of all the good points here, all the exciting bits. I've pretty much been like this since I was 14. So you can imagine how interesting my journey into copy has been. And this is actually the first, I'm not wearing my suit, never mind. Yeah, sorry, that was like in my head, and as I was saying, I was like, I don't have that on. Let's think. I'm just gonna skip to the part everybody wants to hear. So over the last few years, I worked with pretty much all the major publishers over time. Pretty much luck of the draw, got into with Sovereign Society, now Banyan Hill, full circle in my career. And worked with Royce Research, watched that burn down, was told by Clayton that I would never make it as a copywriter. That was fun. Hope he's out there somewhere. Oh yeah. Let him know I'm thinking of him. Never forget Clayton. So, worked from there, went through all the major publishers, pretty much just kept bombing with copy. I was a better marketer than I was actually a copywriter for a long time. That's still true now, because I'm a terrible copywriter, but somehow here I am in front of you guys. I don't even have PowerPoint. I don't even know how it works. I couldn't do it if my life depended on it. But over the years, I kept trying to do what a lot of, I think, young writers do, is they see great promos and they think, I'm gonna mimic that. I'm gonna do what this guy's doing. And I think Porter Stansberry should have been shot because what his company created is a shit ton of ripoffs, and everybody basically destroyed the financial industry back in 2012 trying to rewrite End of America. That's the atmosphere I came into when I started in 2011. Everybody was just trying to rip it off. I was trying to rip it off. Nobody was really making any money except Stansberry because everyone abandoned their way of writing copy, thinking that this long-winded, over-the-top, research-heavy copy was the way to go. And so for many years, until 2015, I kept trying to reinvent my approach to writing copy and make it more complicated. What I came to realize is that's all nonsense. Copy is not complicated. Writing copy is not difficult. Selling product is not difficult. We just charge you a shit ton of money and tell you it is, but it's not. It's very simple, and I'm gonna break it down into my proprietary Pcp formula here in a moment, also known as angel dust. So, copy's simple, and I'm a pretty simple person. I don't dress elaborately. I don't own elaborate things. I try to keep things simple because I like simplicity, and so when it comes to writing copy, I do the same thing. I keep it very simple, and I look at writing copy the same way I look at trying to convince somebody to give up their daughter for a dowry or something. You just got to get right to the point, man. You just got to get to it. Give them what they want, money. So we'll get into that. Some background over the last few years since I developed this approach to writing copy that I'm going to give you. In 2015 was probably my first major breakout promo, and I've had probably one of the best win streaks in the industry since. In 2015, I wrote Precision Profits in 2 days, and that promo went on to generate about $13 million for a company that had never had a promo that did more than 5. And Sovereign Society at the time was an $8 million company, so it changed our business. From there, I went on to write a couple other things, Wall Street's ATM, some other nonsense, some things nobody cares about, and then Extreme Fortunes, which is what everybody really knows at this point. Extreme Fortunes is the biggest selling promo in Agora history, to my knowledge at this point. In terms of back-end sales at least, it generated 13 million in one day. went on to generate over 35 million or so within the next 12 months. It still works today. Wrote True Momentum. On top of that, True Momentum has generated about 25 million. Fun story about that you guys will appreciate. So we had Extreme Fortunes that was so successful, our legal team said, hey, you guys can't have this running anymore because the stocks that we recommended did this very sharply. And they were like, that's a no-no for us. And so we had to find something to do because we had all this money that was trying to get in, so we couldn't take it. So in about a day, Aaron DeHoog and I said, let's invent a product and sell that now. Like, we can't give you this anymore, so let's buy this. That was True Momentum. And we had to close the gates for Extreme Fortunes. People decided to pay a $100 deposit for the right to buy True Momentum when we actually created the product in 2 months. So we made about 300,000 or so just saying, if you give us 100, we'll tell you about how you can buy this in like 2 months. So great way to funnel traffic. Somehow it worked. That's the story of my life. Somehow shit just keeps working. I don't know. John said I should talk about the fact that I wrote a upsell that has now been used across the company and generates 40%. I can send you guys that because we just have been using it pretty much cyclically now for, 2 years. And it works well. It's very simple. The Reader's Digest version is if you give people the same product for a lifetime at the same price they just paid for a year, they feel pretty retarded if they don't take it. So we get about a 40% conversion across the board. So if you can imagine taking a $4,000 product and now your average cart value jumps to $6,000, that's kind of what we've been doing for 2 years. It's helped us have probably one of the highest cart values in the industry. So all that shit out of the way. What is the formula? How do I write copy? Take notes if you want. As I said, this is called the Pcp Formula. It's stupid. I hate gimmicks. I hate that kind of shit. But here we are. We have arrived at this point in my life. So PCP stands for Promise, Credibility, Proof. As far as I'm concerned, this is how humans interact. This is how you sell things to each other. This is how you communicate. The quick version is the promise is everything. So you can say it doesn't have to do with back ends, but the promise is when I say, here, I have something to tell you. That's what the promise is. The credibility is, who am I to say this to you? The proof is, here's verification that this actually works. Now, I'm going to go through all of those. I'm going to tell you what makes a good promise, what is powerful credibility, and what is the best way to show proof. So what is a good promise? A good promise is one that can be broken down. It can be analyzed. It has density. It feels real. It doesn't feel like it's been pulled out of a hat. But it does feel a little ambitious. Eugene Schwartz actually said that when you make a promise, it should stretch credulity.
What was the promise of Extreme Fortunes?
The promise of Extreme Fortunes was 1,000 into 100,000 within 12 months.
How's that dense?
How's it dense? So the feeling of density that comes from it is when someone sees it in their head, they say, okay, I could see potentially how that happens. If you go too far, people are like, that's fucking ridiculous. Density is when someone feels like it could happen. Maybe in most, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Puppies?
Yes, puppies. Maybe in the best if the stars align, but it could happen. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They just try to make the biggest promise. The biggest promise isn't the promise that wins. It's the promise that people can believe. So when you're making a promise, it has to have density. It has to feel real, but it has to stretch reality because nobody wants a product that is too believable. This is actually an issue I see all the time where people say, I'm going to create a product that is a 15% annualized return. People love that. They would love it. It's conservative. It's possible. Yeah, I know. That's why your product doesn't sell shit. Because nobody wants what they know is possible. They know that's possible. They know where to go. Their broker's always telling them where to go for that. They don't want your reality. They want their own reality. And your job is to create that reality for them. That's what a promise is. A promise stretches these things. Let me see what some stupid shit I wrote over here. Shit is now my code word here for I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. That's my great quotable line. So the truth about this whole thing is, what is copywriting really? What is this whole financial industry? What is all selling, right? And what you're actually doing is you're in the business of promises. We're all just, whoever has the best promise expressed the best way is the winner. You're not selling a newsletter. You're not selling a fucking t-shirt. You're not selling any of these things. What you're selling is a promise. You're selling the promise that if you put this suit on, you'll be better than other dudes in suits. If you're selling a newsletter, you're saying if you have this newsletter, it's going to make you more money than that newsletter. Here's the promise. Everyone here is promise brokers at this point. The better you get at it, the more reality you inject, but also the more imagination you can add to it, the more people will buy. So whenever I began to realize that, it actually changed my copy a lot, because I realized all I have to do is make a promise and prove it through the whole promo. So one of my things now is when I write a promo, I have the guarantee of the promo and the promise, and all I do throughout the rest of the promo is prove that promise. One thing, not 100 things. I don't talk about how you can make a ton of money, and then I talk about income and all this other bullshit, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about your hero's journey. Nobody cares about any of that shit. All they want is for you to show them that this promise is possible. If the hero's journey is the best way to show that, then use it. But there's an issue where people think they have to have all these elements in a promotion because that's what they're supposed to do, and that's all nonsense, and that's why your copy sucks. Because you're doing these things nobody actually cares about. Imagine if you were selling something to somebody in person, and you're discussing, you're like, oh yeah, man, this stock is great. You know, once upon a time, I used to drive a Volkswagen Beetle, and it was like there was no tires. It sucked. I used to be a prostitute and inject heroin through my ass, you know, whatever. And then it's like, that's cool, I guess, man, thanks. But, you know, and then it's like, but also I'm a broker now. You can buy things from me. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about your story unless your story ties in with your credibility, which I'll get into in a second. Let's see here, what's some other nonsense? Oh, I guess I've already covered everything I have to say about it, about promise. If you have any more questions about promise, we'll circle back and I'll tell you whatever. So credibility. This is one that's probably gonna piss a few people off. Is Addison here? No, he's not. Damn it. I was gonna target him. So one of the great things Agora used to do as a whole, and I say this working for Agora, is Agora basically had the random itinerant style of getting editors for their products. They would grab a dude off the street, get a back-tested system that they spent like 20 minutes creating on Capital IQ or Bloomberg, and then they would say, hey, guess what? You now run this service. You are a Forex trader. Have a good time. And this worked for a lot of years. Right up until the market took a shit and everyone lost their money. What we've actually been entering since about 2008, I would say, is a increased demand for credibility. Credibility and proof are two different things, which is often confused. Credibility is not something you can manufacture. It is something that is given to you. Credibility is someone else saying you're worth listening to. This is why the whole idea of, let's say, it's a testimonial in a sense, is credibility. Testimonial for the person. You being in the Wall Street Journal, you being on TV, you being with these objective sources that say this man is competent, this man is capable, that's what credibility is. So when you deal with people with a lot of credibility, it's much easier to sell. That's the whole Gary Bencivenga premise, right? The higher your credibility, you can pretty much just write a promo with your credibility, which I've done, and if your credibility is strong enough, it will sell the product. So I actually have a picture of Paul Mampilli writing a trade alert. This is how he feels about his credibility. Can you pull that up for me? Yep. I got this. This was a pretty candid photo I captured of him once. This is Paul Mampilli right before a trade alert went out. It's just a beautiful Indian god. So credibility is powerful. It gives weight to everything you do. It makes your promise. We're just going to keep that up there. So that way the cameras have just me and Xerxes, Paul Mampilli. He's always with me. So credibility answers the question of, here's my promise. Here's what I can do. Here's what I'm saying I'm going to do for you. Credibility answers the, who the fuck are you to say that to me? Which is what everyone thinks immediately. When you say, hey, I can do this for you, the first question that comes to mind is, who the fuck are you to say that? By what right can you tell me you're going to make me wealthy? Because I've heard it from a ton of people. By what right do you have to tell me this is the best insert fucking vibrator? I don't know. Whatever product, whatever thing it is you want to put there, credibility answers that question. And if you don't have credibility now, if you weren't a hedge fund manager, if you didn't work for a major house, if you don't have these things which someone sees conventionally and thinks, wow, okay, capable. He's actually done this professionally. He's not just a random man pulled off the street, given a product and told he's going to sell this. People don't want that anymore. They rather have someone they can believe in, which is at the end of the day, what everybody wants when they buy a product, someone they can believe in. Now, that's been a change. People want a company they can believe in, but at the end of the day, they're just looking for somebody to trust. That's all they want. If people can trust you, then they'll take anything from you in good and bad ways. So if you can work on that, if you're not investing in getting in these media sources, gathering this credibility, then you're just performing half-ass. Your promos will never do as well as they could because you have not made that investment. So real money track records are pretty good, honestly. They're good. You can use them. But they're not the winning thing because real money track records can be manufactured as well. Credibility is objective. You can't create it. It's been given to you. That's an investment in time, and that's where PR and all this other nonsense comes in that I used to think was bullshit. Because as a copywriter, I want to think I can sell anything. I am a living god with a keyboard. But that's not the truth. The truth is that your investment, by being a credible person, your credibility is just as powerful as the copy. When the two things come together, that's how you get blockbusters. If you're missing one, then you're always going to be out. It's going to be at a scale that's tilted, or whatever the fuck the word is I'm looking for. I am hungover as hell, so I don't know if I mentioned that already. So there you go, credibility. Then we're going to go into proof. Proof is everyone's favorite masturbatory subject because they're like, oh, well, look at my back test. My back test shows this is possible. I have so much information that I printed out in my Bloomberg. It took hours to create this. And surprisingly, our legal department at Agora loves that more than anything else. They'll let us get away with a back-tested system that says you could generate $1 million starting with a hay penny over the next month, more likely than they're going to let you get away with, hey, you could make 100% every month based on my actual track record, because actual track record is too concrete. So this is why I drink, guys. That's what I'm getting to. So what is proof? Proof is the promise. It's the mortar at the end of the day that holds everything together. You have your building materials with your credibility and your promise, and now you've got to build a house. Proof is how you show that house can stand. But there's got to be a proper expression for proof. Proof has to be demonstrated in a real way. And what I mean by that is you don't have to prove that much because people are not that discerning. So one of the best things I started doing with my promos over the last few years is I got really lazy and I started working less because I would do so much effort. I would just put piles and piles of proof. I think I wrote a promo once that came out to 1 hour and 30 minutes when it was recorded because I would just pile proof and pile all this nonsense on there. And the truth is people don't need all that. They don't need mountains and mountains of proof. They just need 3 good proof points. So what I started doing is taking 3 stocks, for example, in a stock tease, and if I had a systems promo for the Philistines in the audience, a systems promo was breaking down how a product works. It's like magic black box numbers and money. Oh hell! So I started doing these things, talking about 3 stocks, and then just referencing them throughout the entire promo. You don't need to talk about anything else. You don't need to explain how a ton of stocks worked. You don't need to say, hey, look at all these examples of my system working. You just need 3 really good ones. If you have 3 really good examples, 3 strong proof points, that's all someone needs. They're not going to say, well, this is nonsense. I need proof of every single one. And if they do, they're probably really shitty customers. So you just need the 3. Break them down. If you say my system performs this way, break it down. Show exactly how those 3 stocks fit your system. If you say I have used this method, whatever the hell the word you want to use, just do that. This applies even if you're writing a major market story, such as Internet of Things, which is a big one for Banyan Hill. Internet of Things was, look at this chip. This chip will make you tons of money because it's like fucking worth $1 trillion or something. I don't know, Larry Fine wrote it. So the whole idea there, he took examples, I think just 3 examples of how the market works. That whenever there's a major event, it plays out this way and the stocks go up. That's all you need. You don't need pages upon pages. You just need 3 at best. So that's essentially with proof. The less you can break down into bigger parts, the more mileage you're going to get out of it. Otherwise, you just have a belabored promotion, just like this presentation. So, yeah, that's it. If you guys have questions, ask.
Yeah, so when you say you just need 3 examples, but you really go in detail with those?
Yes. So if you're going to have, let's say, you want to show a ton of like drive-by bullet examples. You can say, oh, look how much money you would have made here. This did this, this did this, whatever. But you only need 3 really concrete, fleshed out proof points. If you have too many, thing is, it doesn't actually take a lot to sell people something, because if your promise is strong, they have already bought. If your credibility is good, then they're already convinced. Your proof is the logical, when their wife's like, why did you give this guy like $10,000? He's like, oh, well, look at all this bullshit proof. Look at this works, these 3 stocks. It came out, it's flawless. It's not, by the way, but it's good enough. So that's all. Proof is the logical justification, and people don't need that much logical justification at the end of the day.
So understanding that you're not a lawyer, the promise section, you go from 100 or 1,000 hours to 100,000 within a finite period of time. Any legal implications? I hear more and more rumblings about those kind of claims or statements. So what is Agora's position on that?
Agora is, it depends on the day. I've had promotions that have taken 2 months getting through legal, and I've had promotions that have taken a day or 2. As long as you can prove that theoretically this was possible, Agora will, so far the Agora team will let a lot of things slide through. I would consult a lawyer though, because if you take my advice on this, there's a good chance you're going to jail. So this is why we have an entire legal team. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you wrote one of those promos in 2 days, but how much sort of background research and reading went into that so you were able to write it?
About a week. We were pretty pressed for that promo, and I was about this close to quitting copy as a whole because I'd been doing it for so many years and had not had a real breakout. I'd had, some success, but had not had like a, here I've arrived moment. So I was like, here, I'm just going to bang this shit out and be done with it. And of course, that's not how it worked out. Now I'm stuck doing this forever, pretty much. So how the research, now that was pretty simple because it was just a trading system. So I used an Excel spreadsheet. This is probably the most important thing you can do whenever you're writing a systems promo or, that kind of thing, is analyze every aspect. So there's 3 things with a product that you should always look for: size, frequency, consistency. You can have those 3 things when you're writing a promo. If you're writing, and you can pick and choose. So you can be big and consistent, you can be big and frequent, you can be frequent and consistent, whichever. And by that I mean you can have you can have trades that happen, we'll take frequent out and replace that with speed. You can have speed, consistency, or size. People either want big gains consistently, they want smaller gains fast, they want big gains fast. That's the ideal one. You can have whichever. But it doesn't have to be consistent if it's fast. It doesn't have to be fast if it's big. But the more that you give one up, the bigger the other two have to become. So whenever you're writing promotion, this is what you want. You don't want people to think, oh, I've got to wait 10 years for this, because nobody wants to wait 10 years for shit. I don't even want to wait 10 years to watch my kid grow up. I just want him to get the fuck out. So nobody wants to wait for anything. They don't want money later. If they wanted money later, they would just be looking at their 401k. They want money today, and they want either money today or they want a lot of money in a few weeks. So here's a good example. Never go beyond 12 months on a profit horizon. Over 12 months and you've lost a lot of power. People don't want money in 2 years. They want money immediately. They want to be reimbursed. They want a fucking, man, I'm brain fog from hell today, John. They want what is it when you buy a computer and they're like, hey, we'll give you part of that back, Rebate. They want a rebate, essentially. Yeah. They want a rebate on all their product purchases from you. That's why things like selling put selling products were just great sellers, because you'll make $2,000 right now. I'll give you $2,000 5 minutes after you buy this. No big deal. You're just gonna have to put $200,000 on the line for it, but swear to God, it's coming. So that's how, when it comes to circle back, because I just ranted, that's how I am with research, is I look for how to explain those three things. And usually it takes me about a week to figure out what I'm going to focus on. And then it takes me 6 months to write that. So there we go. Anybody else? Density? I would say gravitas, testicular fortitude. I don't know. Your density, your promise should have balls. It should feel cool. People should see it and be like, wow, that's pretty sweet. So extreme fortunes. And also, here's actually another thing. When you're making a promise, the promise that you make can actually be outweighed by your proof that you lay out. So one of the things I do often, and at Banyan Hill, this is kind of a formula that now is being adapted. And to put that in perspective, we haven't had a back end over the last 2 years do less than 5 million by following everything I've just said to you, by taking this model. And we haven't had one do less than 5 million, and we've had one, as I said, do up to 35 million. Over the last 2 years, my sales, using literally everything I just told you, I've probably generated about $80 million in sales, $70, $80 million in sales of newsletters and other nonsense. So your promise, when you make the promise, if you can break it down and show how that promise is actually silly, I'll turn 1,000 into 100,000. And then in the promo, you're like, yeah, but these guys, they turned 1,000 to 35 million. But I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying that it's possible to turn 1,000 to 100,000 if people are doing that, are turning it into 35 million. Come on, that's reasonable. So the more crazy shit you put in there to prove your point, the more weight your promise has, because now your promise is just a drop in the bucket. It's like, oh yeah. And then you guarantee it and offer no refunds, and you're rolling. Huh? So this also comes down to my laziness when I write copy. My guarantee is the entire promo when I write. I no longer do this guarantee is par for the course. Claude Hopkins actually said back in fucking 1830 or whatever he was alive. I don't know. Fucking dude. But he actually said that the issue with guarantees is they've become old hat. People are just taking them for granted. They'd say, oh, here, yeah, I guarantee you'll like this or whatever. If you don't, I'll give you your money back. People don't actually want their money back. Here's the great thing. They don't want their money back. They want what you promised them. or at least 50% of that. If you can get them about 50% of what you promised them, they're going to be stoked. But they don't want their money back. Nobody, at least the only people worth selling to, wants to have to call you and deal with your shitty customer service reps and explain to them why they want their money back. They don't want to have to email you because, frankly, it's embarrassing. It feels like groveling when you have to call and be like, I want my money back. And then you know it's going to be a long drag down, knock down, drag, whatever the fuck. I can't remember the phrase. It's going to be a fight. Someone's going to get their ass kicked. Someone's going to jail. It's going to be lawyers. Nobody wants that. They want what you told them you were going to give them. So just having a guarantee saying, hey, 30 days, you get your money back. A year, you get your money back. I don't want my money back. I want my fucking returns. I want you to validate the trust I put into you. That's what they want. Going back to our credibility thing, they want someone to believe in. So how my guarantees work is we have no money back guarantees anymore on the back end at Banyan Hill. So basically, if you buy, you die because you're fucked. We have your money. Unless you call and scream at our customer service reps, and then I guess we'll do it. But to put that in perspective, we had, it's actually an issue across the industry, we had a 45 to 60% refund rate on products because people know they can get their money back, so they don't actually commit, right? They're halfway into it. They're like, I'll try it. And then when it's not as cool as they expected it to be, they're like, I want my money back. This is nonsense. So what we started doing is, in probably the most ridiculous move that's ever been done, we launched a brand new product, the most expensive product in our company's history at the time, and we said, you're fucked. We're not giving you money back if you buy this. And that was Extreme Fortunes. How the whole idea of the guarantee works is that you make it the promise. The guarantee and the promise is the credibility, is the proof. Everything works together. This is the synchronicity. For me, the guarantee is the most powerful thing in copy. The reason being because this is what people actually want. A guarantee is what someone wants because you're saying, I'm going to give you this. I fucking guarantee I'm going to give this to you. And that's what they want. They want that confidence. They don't want you to say, I'll give you your money back. They want you to say, this is going to happen or this. I actually stole this from Money Map, this exact phrasing. So thanks, Brett and Jed. The whole idea of, if this doesn't work out well, I will give you another year free of charge. That's what we do. We don't give money back, but I'll say, hey, look, if you make even $1 less than I promised you, then I'm going to do a whole nother year of work. I'm going to work for you again, no cost, until you get what I promised you. That's what they want. That's a guarantee. They want you to say, I'm going to make you 6 figures. You made 99,000, let's do this again. Because that shows you actually have testicular fortitude. People don't want editors who are sheepish. They don't want to work with people who are cowards. They want to work with people who are confident and mean what they say. And if you're going to be, as I said earlier, if you're going to go wrong strong. So that's what people want. They prefer for you to go wrong strong. So as far as how the guarantees are put together, I'll start the promo off generally with, here's what's going to happen, here's how all this works, and by the end, I guarantee that if you follow my advice, you'll do X. So that's been, for Precision Profits, that was double, you'll make 110,000 into 100,000. For True Momentum, that was triple your portfolio. For Rapid Profit Trader, one of my most recent ones, that was turn 5,000 into 200,000 over the next year. There's always these things, and all I do throughout the entire promo is show that guarantee is just stupid simple. It's like, yeah, look at all this money that I've already made doing all this other stuff. The 200,000 is honestly because I'm being super conservative. I'm actually lowballing you here because good chance we're probably going to make 500,000. Have stronger proof than anything. Your promise is here. Your proof lifts it up. Have stronger proof than, it's just shooting. It's easy.
You mentioned about people's time horizon not being beyond sort of 12 months. How do you tackle that on the upsell page? So my banking have a really conversion on the upsell to lifetime.
Yeah.
Do you revisit the Pcp formula on the upsell page, or is it quite simply offer driven?
It's pretty offer driven. So the thing about, I pretty much play the "Are you a fucking idiot" card on the upsell, because it's like, oh yeah, you just paid. It's like, hey, really cool, you did this. This was a big move. This was a good idea. You're really gonna have a good time. You're gonna make tons of money. So, and you just paid $2,000 for a year of this, which is a fucking steal. It's great. You're gonna make nothing. But what if I told you that because you did this, I want to reward you and give you a lifetime of access? You can have this product forever, and you'll always get every alert, no problem. And all you do is pay another $2,000. So it's like, and I've just literally say to them, you just paid $2,000 for 1 year. Don't you think it's reasonable to pay $2,000 to have it forever? And that converts at 40%. And we also, I will say that we do for the upsell, we offer the money back. It's like, hey, look, if you decide that lifetime isn't for you, you can get a refund in the next 30, 90 days or whatever the hell it is.
Just for that lifetime?
Just for the lifetime.
So you revert back to the original?
Yeah, for the lifetime, they can get their offer, they can get their money back, but no, we have your money initially forever. And to put that in perspective, we still refund because it's impossible to escape it because there's assholes out there who want their money back regardless. You could, we have, Paul Mampilli's Extreme Fortunes product has quite literally made people millions. We have pages of testimonials. One man said he made $29 million from the Extreme Fortunes product. People still want their money back sometimes. But we went from 40, 50% refund rate to about 10. So we had about a $35 million promo and we gave back $3 million. Not bad, not bad. Good for royalties, as you might tell from how lavishly I dress. Anyone?
Can you maybe talk a little bit about your process, how you figure out what type of promo you write and we come up with your promise?
Yeah, if someone could get some more Jack out here, I'm gonna give you a live demonstration of how I come up with ideas. I think David Ogilvy actually had one of the best examples of his process. He would get, I don't know if anyone remembers, it was cognac or something. He would sit in his castle because he was fucking, of course, Scottish in a castle or something. And he would put Handel on. Handel is, the composer, not like, I don't know, not get a handy. He would put Handel on. Probably did the handy part too. But he would do all these things. He would drink, he would listen to music, he would write a promo, he'd tear it up, he'd yell at his, copy cubs or whatever they're called nowadays, copy teddy bears. He would yell at them, he would yell at his wife, he'd kick the dog, he'd fucking burn his castle down, he'd get hammered drunk, he would keep writing, he'd hate everything, he'd put a gun in his mouth, he'd go the whole everything, which is pretty much the same thing I do. Except I don't kick my dog because he's pretty big, and that would not work out for me. So, but I definitely beat the kids and all that kind of shit. There's a lot of yelling. So whenever I sit down to write a promo, I'll get all of the elements I have. I'll look at the credibility. I'll just revert to this formula. What's the credibility, and how can I prove a promise? What is the biggest thing I can prove? And I'll just start from there. I usually will start with credibility and track record, break it down from there, then start thinking of what are some interesting things. I'm pretty centric on the direct. I'm not a very good indirect writer. I've had successful front ends. I just don't like doing it because I think it's just silly. Because successful back ends have usually converted on the front end as well. So it's just weird that we have this mental separation that I think Agora created. But man, those fucking guys, am I right? Bill Bonner, what an asshole. Tall bastard. So he has a chateau. Does anybody else here have a chateau? No. Fuck you guys. So whenever I'm writing a promo, I'll look at these things. I'll analyze. Let's say my promise is, here's an example. So I had a promo called Kennedy Accounts that came out I can't remember if it was, I think it was this year. And it's been not a huge success, it's been a pretty moderate success, but we took the super exciting concept of drips, and drips have been beaten to hell in this industry. So I was like, how can we do this differently? What's a new thing about drips? So somehow I made legal agree with me that John F. Kennedy created drips. That was fun, because legal said he was dead when this happened. It's like, well, no, it could have worked out. Like, it happened, the time, there's like only 2 years. So I used that, got proof from our readers that they had made money with drips, then just spun it to say, look at all this money that people have made with drips, but I call them Kennedy accounts. And then we just, show like, look, Kennedy did this, Kennedy did this. So I'm actually not great at explaining my process because my process is pure chaos. Aaron would tell you this himself because he often ends up calling me like, why haven't you sent me an outline or draft in weeks? And I say, that's because I'm coming out of the psych ward and I am completely hungover. So my process is pretty much taking a ton of information, putting it in a small tube, and then chugging it like a beer funnel and seeing what I defecate from there. So essentially take as much information as you can. I think it was Gary Bensavinga also who said his view on it is you should have 10 times the amount of research as pages you expect to write. So if you're going to write a 40-page promo, you have 400 pages of research. And really the only way that you write a promo is by just getting an intuitive idea of what good copy is, seeing what works, becoming aware of the market's place, which is Eugene Schwartz discussing awareness and sophistication. If you don't have breakthrough advertising, like, what the hell are you even doing here? So you analyze these things, and then you take the tone of, okay, here's how we're going to spin this, which is why Bitcoin and cryptos were so big. Marijuana, like, this is what people want, and all you've got to do is show them a new way of making money with that using the proof. So that's how I write. Pretty much just garbled nonsense. Yeah. Sorry.
How do you work with marketers from the team? Do you kind of insulate yourself from it, or can we help you like do more?
How do I work with marketers? They're pretty much my handlers at this point, is how marketers are assigned to me. Amanda Klein is a saint and has had to pull me out of pretty much gutters intoxicated. So, true story. There's really nothing marketers, I'm not saying that marketers are useless or invalid. It's just whenever I'm writing a promotion, I don't really need you. Because, I mean, if I do need you, I'll let you know. I'll say, hey, I need this information. But in terms of idea generation, unless you're going to send me like bullet points every day of things that are happening in the market. So here's actually a good idea. So open rates on different subject lines, super important to know. Best-selling promotions across the industry, getting that frequently is useful because it gives you an idea of where the market is on a number of different subjects. Click-through rates, basically statistics. Statistics allow me to begin forming an idea of what's working, and then from there, copy somehow emerges from the other. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. I mean, copywriters are assholes, dude. Just give them too much credit. They're not even human. Yes?
What will you do if you have to write a promotion and the stocks are just kind of boring? Let's say they've done up like 5-6x and it's kind of boring. Like, would you like really try to hack it up, or what would you do?
If I was writing a promo?
Second.
What, repeat the first part of your question?
If you're writing a promo and the stocks that you're writing about, they're just kind of boring, you don't really have that much to work with, like, what would you do in that case?
I'll make shit up.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my reality and I create what I want.
How do you make it up and how do you make it?
Tons of research. This is actually where I start getting pissed at people. It's like they say, sell my product. And I'm like, God, your product sucks. And so now I've got to create a new product for you because you're a fool. So it's like, why sell products that are going to be hard to sell? I don't get why people do this. I like to sell things that people want to buy. This has been really a successful strategy for me over the last few years. So selling futures products, not worked out. People don't care. Yeah, so if I'm starting out and it's boring, which, for example, with drips, if you have something that's kind of boring and lackluster overall, then you find something not boring around it. So with drips, I was like, okay, well, it's pretty much a guaranteed way to make 10 times your money. So that's what I focused on. It takes a long time, which sucks because of I just said moments ago, never go beyond 12 months, and here I am talking about a promo that takes 20 fucking years for you to make any money. So, but if you're gonna do something boring, then find an exciting aspect to it and pretty much ignore all the boring shit and then tell people about the boring shit after they buy. Tell people less, sell more. That's the mantra, guys. That's what you gotta take away. Con artists can teach you a lot.
I know you're very loose. You talk about making things up. We talk about making things up, like you're actually going to research. It's not like
Yeah, no, yeah.
you're actually going to look for actual other angles and things that are maybe not obvious in the box. You kind of talk us through that a little bit more.
Yeah. So when I say make things up, I don't mean I begin to fabricate things, though that would be sweet. It's just we're beyond that era now, guys. It's not going to happen. Legal. It's Clayton Makepeace had a great quote. Speaking of the devil, he had a great quote where he said, "If there was no legal department, then all of our clients would be rich and in jail." So as much as I hate the legal guys sometimes, I'm like, that's probably valid. Even though, come on, it's only if you're in jail for a few years and you make several millions, like, it's all right. It's white collar prison. Nobody gets raped there. Just ask Jordan Belfort. So whenever I'm writing and looking for, if something's boring, then I just dive into research. I find more credible things. I find better proof points. Because sometimes with drips, it's like, yeah, okay, that works. The proof is in the pudding, in the drip. It's a drippy pudding. So you have these things, but then you have to find something more interesting, more exciting about it. That's honestly where the whole idea of taking tons of information and begin to digest it. And for example, with the Kennedy accounts thing, which was about drips, I just thought I need more proof. So we actually sent an email to our file and said, hey, have any of you ever done this, like ever messed around with drips? Surprisingly, we got a shit ton of emails back where people said, yes, I've actually turned $50 into like $250,000 with this. And so we just began to highlight this. The more interesting aspect is the end result, to the point people buy an end game. All right, they're not buying the service, they're buying the promise, and the promise is the end game. So as far as creating things, if things are boring, if I have let's say just a stock, if it's just a stock and it's boring, I will just say you need to give me something else. Because my job isn't to like turn your shitty stuff into good stuff, it's to sell good things. And I'm, as I've said 100 times now, lazy and often hungover. And so I do not want to deal with prima donnas. I do not like to deal with people who think they know better than me because they don't. Everyone besides me is a fucking moron. So as far as research, just look at numbers, look at information, look at industry, read a lot, digest information, become a hub of data. And you'll begin noticing, I can't remember, there's a book about it, but the more information you have, the more things can begin to connect randomly. It's pretty much, if you read some of the greatest books ever written, Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle, you notice that the entire methodology that Sherlock uses when he's using deductive reasoning is he analyzes several different factors and how they connect into a web, right? I'm in England, so I'm talking about this, and everyone's like, shut up, shut the hell up. I'm talking about sacred Arthur, Sir Arthur Doyle. So connect information, the more complete picture you get of a whole thing, the more you begin to pick out things in the panorama. Yes, sir.
You mentioned 3 writers in the beginning, 3 copywriters who are working,
3 copywriters?
3 authors.
3 authors. So the 3 that I personally read often are Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising. John Caples, Tested Advertising Methods, 4th edition. Don't get that nonsense 5th edition because he was fucking dead when that came out. So, and it's useless. So get the 4th edition. And then I'm always divided on the 3rd one, but I would say the Robert Collier letter book, because Robert Collier was great at speaking to people and understanding humans on an emotional and honest level. Another one that's a more modern book that I also recommend, though it's fucking zany and wacky, is Cashvertising by Drew Eric Whitman. That's a pretty short book, but it's got a lot of information in it. It's very useful and it's easy read, but it's one of the most books on copy that have come out in the last 10 years I would literally use as toilet paper, because most of them are just marketing vehicles that people are trying to use as, smart. They're trying to show credibility. I'm a published author about copy. Nobody actually gives a shit though, because this is where a complete misunderstanding of the market comes, because nobody gives a shit if you've written a book about copy. So those are the books I recommend.